Hi everyone, welcome to this next podcast episode. Just as a starter, Lou and I created this video. We had a technical error, so unfortunately Lou's camera is not recorded on either of them, and what we'd like to say is just view this as Lou wearing her cloak of invisibility. She's still there, we can hear her, the conversation is still as rich, it's just that you'll only see me. We'll make sure the settings are right when we make the next view. But this is what happens when you're learning on the job. Thanks for watching our video. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. We'll see you again soon. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome, and here we are, Lou, myself, our next NLP with Jacci and Lou podcast. And today's topic is one of our favourite presuppositions, which is there is no failure, only feedback. And I love this one. I've certainly used it so much in coaching, and it was one of the first ones that I really took to heart when I was coaching a team of people. So that's where I started to use it. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Sounds strange, doesn't it? It's one of those.
It does.
As with all presuppositions, it's just a useful belief.
Yeah. And what I liked about this was that I'd actually been using this before NLP. So I kind of had that mindset that there's no failure, there's only feedback. And I'm thinking back to even when I was training cashiers, and I keep in touch with them through their induction. And if they were upset that they'd had a cash error, I was like, brilliant, that's fantastic. Gosh, think how much you're going to learn.
I wish you'd been my manager when I had cash errors.
Yeah, I wish I'd been my own, because I learned lots. I gave myself the opportunity to learn lots, but you only really got to understand how your till worked, how cashiering worked, by looking for a cash error. So it was a great opportunity. So that's just one example, but that had been my mindset all the way through. Because how are you going to try stuff if you're worried about failing?
Yeah, that can be a big barrier for people. It's a big blockage, isn't it? The fear of failure can actually be very stultifying. Is that the word? Yes.
So for me, it reinforced what I already believed, and it allowed me to dial it up a bit as well. And I think, in the sense that it allowed me, I gave myself permission to bring it into my life more visibly for the people that I worked with. So if I was coaching, if I heard the word failure, then we would have a conversation around that and reframe it to feedback. So what feedback did that give you? What have you learned from that? What would you do differently next time? So how are we looking at that situation now? Well, actually, it was a great opportunity. And it chips away at that self-judgment, that harsh voice inside us that tells us it's not going to work or we're going to mess up, because we can welcome that. Yes, I know, that's great. Yeah, I'm going to pick the most difficult cake in the world to bake as a novice baker. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, well, A, there's always custard, because that always makes a cake successful. And B, I'll know exactly what to do differently next time.
Yeah.
First time I did a baked cheesecake. There is no failure, only feedback.
Okay.
Feedback being, remember to put the cheese in it, the soft cheese.
Yes.
Otherwise, when you put it in the oven with, it's all in its tin, lovely. And when you bring it out of the oven, there's just the base. Everything else has vanished. And you do it again, and the same thing happens.
How do you look at the cheese?
Soft cheese, cream cheese. Well, there, the clue would be in the name. However, did I fail? No, I gave myself feedback. So and it can very easily stop us doing something again. Oh, it didn't work out, I'm not going to try that again. Well, what do we learn from it? What You know, it's just an experiment. Everything we do, it's an experiment.
Yeah, we're constantly refining, even though we may be doing the same thing over and over again, we're constantly refining it unconsciously anyway, because that's what your unconscious mind wants to do. It wants to take the feedback and it wants to keep on improving. So it will continue to make your process better the more you do it, because it's taking that feedback. It's refining the process all the time.
And it loves a puzzle, doesn't it? The unconscious mind. It loves to work things out. It loves to progress.
Yeah, it loves a puzzle. So yes, and as a presupposition, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Sometimes when I share this with people, I see a bit of a wince on the word feedback, because if you're using this for yourself, that's fine. However, your feedback has to be useful.
Yeah, it's got to be helpful.
Got to be useful. It's got to be helpful. And if the feedback to yourself is, well, that was a waste of flipping time. I knew I couldn't do it.
Why did I bother? Really? Should have known better.
That's not really useful and helpful feedback. No. So it's very much about, okay, not putting cheese in your baked cheesecake is going to really be good feedback. It's a technical piece, isn't it?
It's a technical piece. However, I would add, it was missing from the recipe. In the process steps, it was missing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
So the feedback was, once I got past the initial stage of, oh, God, you're such a numpty, which wasn't the most helpful of feedback, it was, okay, let's just check the recipe. So now, before I do a new recipe, anytime I use a new recipe, I always read through it a few times first, and each of the steps, to make sure that everything's in there. And I have that kind of radar going. Has it included everything? Is there a critical error, a critical omission within this? So, yeah, that, I could have said, well, I'm never making a cheesecake again. I'm a failure. No, just, assess it.
Yeah.
See what could have been better, more helpful. Would have certainly been more useful if I put cheese in it, but then it would have been more useful if that step had been included.
Had been in the
there, recipe.
Yeah. You want to miss that.
But yeah, it's changed how I approach recipes, and that's been a benefit through all sorts of baking and cooking.
So what you've learned from that is that not all recipes are 100% correct.
Apart from Delia's. Delia's always right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every step is always included with Delia. But every other recipe I'll check.
The great thing about your feedback is that when we look at it from this point of view, it means that you've almost removed the emotion from it.
Yes.
So if you're looking on it as there's no such thing as failure, only feedback, failure it's been pushed to one side. Yes. It's not failure. I don't even have to think about that.
And all of the judgment
goes with it. So being that pushed to one side, that emotional response you can have to a perceived failure, I'm going to use air quotes, terrible thing to do, that perceived failure doesn't happen, because all you're looking for is what in the process worked, what in the process didn't work. If it didn't work, what do I need to do differently to make the process work? It becomes an unemotional, very analytical way of looking at something, so that you can do those iterations to make it better. Or your feedback might be, do you know what, that's really not for me. I did that and I didn't enjoy it, or it didn't float my boat.
Yeah.
Or do you know what, I've done it once, that's great, I don't really want to do it
again. Need to do that again. That's good. Yeah. And I think as well, it's important within that feedback to yourself is that self-reflection. What were you in the best state to be doing X, Y, or Z? Were you in the best state to be approaching this task? Could you have maybe delayed it if you was it something that you decided to power through when perhaps it would have been more helpful to leave it to another time when you felt more together? But as soon as we take that word failure out of the equation, we take all of that self-judgment and judgment of others that goes with it out of the equation as well. And we just look at it clinically. It becomes steps, a process. Okay, so what worked, what didn't, what do I need to change? What do I need to flex next time? What could I try differently?
And that personal reflection around not only just it being a process, but were you in the right state? Was it the right thing for you to be doing at that point in time? And was it something that you really wanted to do? What's your motivation to do it?
Yeah.
And if something, when you start to look at it analytically, you take the emotion away from it, then you can really make some good decisions to move forward with it or not.
And I love to bake, but I like to bake on my terms. So I like to bake when I want to bake, and to bake the things I want to bake, not have to do it specifically for somebody else, or for people have said, oh, you should be doing this for a cafe or what have you. No, because I'd end up baking the same thing over and over again at times when I really didn't want to bake it, because I wanted to be doing other stuff, and it becomes a chore. So I know that my state, my emotional state, mental state, physical state, because they're all connected, will be very, very different if I have to bake to order compared to when I bake because I want to bake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't do the formal now because I don't enjoy it. That's the feedback. You don't enjoy it. Why are you doing this? You don't enjoy it. And that we underestimate, I think, how powerful, how empowering that is, because we're so used to everything's got to work out and do everything perfectly and got to feel positive about everything. Insert your own expletive for that one. No, because, the valid feedback might be, you know what? That ain't for me.
No.
And that's great, because you know now, and you can forget about it. You can move away from it.
Exactly. And everybody that's ever been really successful, when you talk to them, especially entrepreneurs, you might see somebody hugely successful that's made a shed load of money and they're amazing and they're out there, and how many times did they fail before they actually made it? What they did every time was look at that with the clinical eye of feedback. Okay, what do I need to do differently? What have I got to do to make this work? Do I shift that? Do I change that? Do I continue? What do I do? There's the I never quite get this story right, but I think there's two of them that are in the sports arena around the cycling team and a rowing team, and they kind of both use the same way of doing things. There's one that says,
will it make the boat go faster?
Will it make the boat go faster? Yes. That's right. Does this make the boat go faster? And they're looking always at how they can improve. Looking at improving,
even down to how they're giving the feedback. Exactly. And what they're giving feedback on. So is that, we talk about this in NLP anyway, the difference that makes the difference. Is that the difference that makes the difference? Is it something that's going to make the boat go faster? Yeah. No, forget about it. It's not within this domain at the moment. If it is, okay, how I deliver my feedback, will that make the boat go faster as well? Or is it going to kind of pull it back a couple of seconds? So it's having that clear view that what is it I want to achieve? All of this is designed to help me move towards that achievement.
Yeah.
And businesses as well. I mean, think of the successful businessman. How many bankruptcies have we got behind them? How many closed companies? And, I don't like to use it as an example particularly, but Trump. How many bankruptcies has he got behind him?
Yep.
He's certainly successful. Agree with him or not, successful.
There won't be a single decision that any of those very successful entrepreneurs had made that they would consider a failure.
No.
Not a single one. They may have thrown money away on the wrong idea. They may have done all kinds of things that others would think of as a failure. They would never, ever think of them as a failure. They just see that as a piece of feedback. Right, what do I need to do differently?
It's a stepping stone. Yeah. And I think that's really what this reinforced for me. And particularly when you're running your own business as well, because you make mistakes, great at coach, great at training. My experience of running a business, nada, nothing at all. So there's been a lot of feedback. But looking at, okay, so that didn't work. But I know that now, and I can take some learning from that and use it over here, and it just becomes stepping stones. And when you start looking back over those stepping stones, you see how far you've progressed. And you don't see failure. You see the lessons, you see the progression. And that's what I love about this presupposition.
And it's growth, and it's accumulating wisdom over time as well. Yeah, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback.
So
again, one of my favorites.
Definitely, you're my favorite.
Fantastic. Me and Lou have great fun making these videos for you, because we will always spend our time talking about everything NLP. So if you like our videos and you want to continue to enjoy them, then please like, subscribe, and check that little bell icon wherever that might be, so that you will always be notified when our next video drops.